Hello everyone, from our Ewell. Ewell is a district of Epsom, and Epsom is located 20 kilometers from the center of London. It's a very quiet and peaceful place where most people commute to work in London. And today there will be a history lesson in our park, the library. There's a club here, a club for the residents of Ewell, and here various little events take place. So today there will be an event that's a bit related to history. I'll show you what it's going to look like. This is the board for today. Of course, the event is free of charge. The English also like to organize these kinds of history lessons for children. So let's go. Come on in.
Got here the various different helmets depending on different types of gladiator. So this one here is a Mamillo's helmet, which is the guy there. So Mamillo it means fish. So the fin here is supposed to represent a fish. You then have a very similar type of helmet here. It could be a Mamillo, or it could be a Hoplomachus. Could also have worn that. A different type of gladiator. We then again a provocateur type helmet here, or again another kind of Hoplomachus. There's also and this one also has another type of provocateur helmet. So they have different qualities, but they're all basically you can't see, you can't breathe, and they're really heavy, which keeps the fights very short. You then have different types of shield. So some of the bigger, heavier type of gladiators, so provocateur or Mamillo, will have a big square shield, similar to a legionary shield, slightly smaller maybe. And then you have a very small shield for a Hoplomachus or a Thrax. And again, they all have different equipment depending on the class of the gladiator, and there was fairly strict rules about which type of gladiator were allowed to fight the other ones. So you wouldn't often get the same type of gladiator fighting each other. That was quite an unusual thing to do. One of the classic ones is the Retiarius, with the guy with the net and the trident. He would fight against a provocateur or a secutor. And the reason for that is that the equipment was kind of complementary, so any advantage they tried to negate by having the opposite effect. So for example, the secutor helmet is very smooth, so that the net wouldn't get caught on it. Like a Hoplomachus type helmet, if you're fighting the net guy, he'd easily win because the net would get hooked and he'd just be able to pull you down onto the ground. So they tried to have a handicap system just to kind of even it up, to make the fights last longer.
I think Emma found it.
Thank you so much.
No problem.
With the hobnails, when the Romans realised what the weather was like in Britannia, they started having more covered boots. Again, hobnails for outside. And these are copies of one that were found in this countryside. And they were outside, inside they had no hobnails. Okay. Of armour that was found the same as this. It's found at Corbridge. There's a section that was found in Corbridge in a box, and this is the exact copy from the fragments that were found. So a lot of weight. On the body
it's the weight's distributed, which is it's not quite so bad, but it is very heavy.
This one, it makes a lot of hole in you.
They would have carried around when they were marching. They would have bits of bread, some grains for cooking, some kindling for starting fires, and then this is one the kids love. It's sponge on a stick. They didn't have toilet paper. This was the Romans' toilet paper.
We don't really do cooking anymore now. Have you just been in the gladiators?
Yes, we have. Telephone, look properly.
Yeah.
Yes, there's a sword and a shield and a helmet. Fabulous wealth and make your neighbours jealous. And so the other thing is that hair pieces were really popular, and we would often buy slaves and go, actually I want your hair colour. Sheep's wool into yarn, so you flick the spindle. Oh, it won't work now. That's it. And then it moves up the yarn. And let me stand up and do it. It's probably better. Sorry, it's not going to go now.
Okay.
It's terrible. It's because I'm. Sorry.
It's okay. It's okay. Thank you so much.
Yeah, okay.
That's the one fancy one. Yeah.
This is my piece of here's some I made earlier.
Yeah, no, we're not doing that. Don't do that, darling.
Clay loom weights. So in this time.
This.
Oh, you want to know that?
Yes. Okay.
The Romans had many different ways of writing. They used wax tablets, they crushed down oak galls, which grow on oak trees like tumors. Crushed it down, mixed it with a little bit of water, maybe some Arab gum, and it came out perfectly like ink. Paper they used would probably be papyrus paper. Closest thing they had, and they took it from the Egyptians, same way they take most things from other people. They took archers from Syria. The Assyrian archers stationed on Hadrian's Wall were the best example of that. Far from home, no option to rebel, had no choice but to come under the Roman Empire. Used plenty of wax for seals on scrolls, wax for tablets, writing. Had very inventive methods of carrying things over distances. Had people assigned as scouts and messengers, which were the frumentari. They started out that way, and as they developed over time, they gained more and more intel over the entire Roman Empire, eventually leading them to becoming quite a very, very thorough group of people, mixing into the elite special forces of the Roman Praetorian Guard, turning into frumentari, which are the secret police of Rome, basically. Controlled everything from the shadows. Arrows had many different uses. People, animals, buildings, ships, you name it. They had arrows developed for using it. They have arrows for anti-cavalry. Two-prong one there. Perfect for shattering a horse's breastbone. Hits the horse's breastbone, shatters it. Legs don't work, brings down the horse, the rider, people behind, people beside. quite the rush and panic. They have wild fowling arrows, like the crescent-shaped one. Crescent-shaped one because of the way goose and ducks have feathers layered so much and their wings come over their flesh, acts like armor. So the way arrows spin, it's shaped that way. So the first point hits, lifts the feathers out the way, and the second one goes straight into the flesh. There's best example of a Roman arrow, the tri-lobed arrow. Makes a nice perfect Y-shaped entry wound. Means there's no flesh behind to tie it to and to perfectly get things back together for people. Alternatively, if you really want to be nasty with arrows, put a little bit of garlic on the end of the arrows and the wound won't close. Several different iterations of fire arrows and smoke arrows. This one is made with a resin mixed with some chemicals. Produces a nice smoke. Different chemicals produce a different color, can mean different things in battle. There's one that's explosive. Got a nice bit of greasy sheep wool mixed with gunpowder. Wrap it in a bit of linen dipped in saltpeter, and you end up with a nice explosive. Blast a hole into the ground or whatever you hit. Alternatively, just wrap a little bit of string around 2 holes in an arrow, and you can get the earliest version of fire arrow. Perfect for sieges. Psychological warfare is also a big bit of archery. This one with a hole straight through the tip produces a nice whistling sound. This one straight up into the air. It whistles, means the enemy lift their shields to counteract it. Second arrow is by the time loaded, ready to hit straight underneath the shield. Also have this one for fish, because fish have very, very soft flesh, so it needs a lot more barbs to stick in. Just make sure you tie a bit of string to the end, otherwise you'll lose your arrow too. There's a nice sail one. This one was actually a Viking one, designed to go straight through sails, because the way sails are woven, there's a waft and a weft shape. So that one splits the sail, hopefully into 4 pieces. Very, very nasty for sinking ships, and very, very hard to repair. With these, there's also very, very different iterations of armor-piercing arrows. Bodkins pierces through chainmail, pierces through plate. This one's probably more effective against plate, same way maces are, because it's got a flanged shape, so the impact is a lot more spread out and shatters it, rather than just simply going through. There's some really nasty ones covered in leather here. Nice Damascus effect on them. Perfect for venison, because the way venison is, the deer running produces adrenaline. Adrenaline taints the flavour of the meat. Doesn't make it taste quite nice. It tastes quite sour, actually. So, idea with that one, drop the deer as quickly as possible. So to do that, hidden organ. Easiest way for that, either have very good accuracy, or a very, very big arrow. Another one that they would use are splines, only tied on with a little bit of string, so once it goes in, you pull the arrow out and the head's still in the wound. It makes the surgeon's job a lot harder than simply closing the wound. There's arrows for birds, like birds in trees, like pheasants and stuff. The reason why is because you can lose a sharp arrow and it'll get stuck in the tree if you miss the bird, or it'll hit the bird, flip up, bird gets caught in the tree because the feather's on the arrow. So we use a blunt one, smacks the bird falls out of the tree, and the arrow comes down the same way it came in.
That's it?
That's the extent of my knowledge.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
So, you know, if I was more of that, one piece of leather.
You don't just go up to a shop to get food.
That's what they would have cooked in.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and then they would have cleaned it. Oh no, not
That one.
yeah, they would have carried one of those on their pack.
They're a lot softer to carry, wouldn't they? How heavy that would be.
That is, it's another version of the short
Spear thing.
What do you do with this? What's this spoon?
That is actually a bit of a novelty spoon because it's representing a fish.
Oh yes, it's bones.
Yeah, it's the bones of a fish. So, you know, just a joke fish really.
What's this?
What's the thread? Linen, okay, yeah. It's going to be strong.
So what's the difference between these sorts of the interesting thing is these are all actually finds, so they're based off genuine finds. That's South Cape. If you actually look at the style, stylistically the glaze looks more like so potentially more of a frost stout weapon. That is loosely based off the urchin sword, which is in the British Museum. But I actually had that lengthened simply because I would use that in combat, but it would have been a fraction shorter. That is much closer to the original as the Kirkburn sword. You can find these in the British Museum as well. But typically, the Celtic weaponry of the 1st century at times is made for slashing. So the blade is obviously longer than the gladius, because the Roman gladius was more designed for stout weapon, whereas the fighting style for them back then was more one-on-one, honour fighting, slash style fighting. So that's why they're longer. But you do see later the emergence of the spada, which is the longer Roman sword, which they suggest is an adaptation from fighting with the Celts with longer weapons. So it's more to do with the style of fighting which you use. That is the Waterloo helmet, found in the mountains. We suspect it was thrown in there as an offering to the gods. But also very close to that is that, which is the Battersea shield. So it's actually quite close together.
Calm down.
But these are based on the originals in the museum.
Would these have been used in battle? Or
So we suspect they were ceremonial. I mean, if you look at the construction of that, it wouldn't be practical because the horns just wouldn't be functional. But basically, pull it or you get hit with it. And I don't think they saw any signs of battle damage to these anyhow. So we'd suggest these were status symbols for somebody like the chieftain, somebody of high status. It was more fancy show, but very like ornate. Preserved quite well. You can see the original
it's very strange.
Remember the shield? Sure, we've been to the British Museum.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Exhibition. So they have.
If you were given that at the end of at the end of that, if you were given the wooden sword,
Probably the least valuable.
They were really good, they were really excellent with the architecture, no doubt, and administration. This and the last bit, the administration, we think that that's the key thing about the Roman Empire, why it lasted so long, why didn't it collapse earlier than it should have. Amongst other things, obviously, there is a lot of debate. But in my view, the administration, the way they ran the empire, that was the key. That was the key for so not much innovation, but just grab what someone came up with better. Why don't we use it? Had to be framed in a way that we're not breaking with the tradition, but nonetheless.
The Romans were fighting a group called the Dacians, and they had long kind of side-like weapons, and they were chopping arms off. So they developed the magic to go on the inside. The only thing they were doing was putting them into helmets. So they put a glass guard on top of the helmet, so the helmet's being cut. They did go back about 100 years later to get the Dacians. So it wasn't a couple of years.
These are the leg ones.
Yeah.
That's like a wooden
Pretty similar.
It's a fine stick, so that's what the referee would have used. I'll hold it.
Can I ask everyone for a massive round of applause for Mr. David Brooks? Armadillo, I don't know if they're still going, but they're the ones who made the interior of Hogwarts in Harry Potter. So many years ago we asked them to do this for us, and we're very, very pleased with what they did. They did a lovely job. So we just wanted something spectacular at our show, so the audience, it's a focal point.
Okay. And that's all for today from RUL. If you enjoyed the video even a little, leave a like. Of course, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And you'll have to forgive me for the noise. I don't know how it will turn out in the video, because the kids were making a lot of noise. But you know, it was a lesson for them, a history lesson, so please forgive them. I don't know how it's going to be, but I think the video will still be watchable. So see you. Bye bye.